Hello and welcome to episode 171 of Daryl Show Your Work. And in this episode, I'll be demonstrating how to use the Wazuh SIM tool for incident detection and alerting. But before I get started on that, I wanted to give my usual reminder to please check out INE for its excellent award-winning cybersecurity certification and training programs. They offer programs ranging from red team to a blue team with ranges of experience level. But you would definitely walk away with a lot of the high in demand skills you could be able to speak towards an interview or on your resume. It would definitely would get your money's worth. And speaking of money, if you're looking to save a few dollars when exploring their cybersecurity offerings, if you go to get.ine.com/Daryl and use promo code INF100-Brooks Tech when purchasing any of their services, you'll get 10% off. All right. So again, it's a great opportunity to gain some hands-on cybersecurity skills. And again, that's get.ine.com/Daryl. That link will be in the show notes below, along with the promo code to save uh, 10% on their service offerings, with the exception of live virtual trainings. So again, let's jump into this. Wazuh. What is it? So it is a free open source cybersecurity platform that combines the elements of a SIM, which is the Security Information Event Management tool, and XDR, which is an extended detection and response tool. All right. So it combines those two tools to continuously monitor servers, endpoints, and cloud workloads in order to detect threats, analyze security events, and automate instant responses. So think of it as like a 24/7 security guard for a digital infrastructure. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off by configuring Wazuh here to add some monitoring rules, and then we're going to test those rules out by going into Wazuh and seeing exactly how exactly it does its thing. All right, so to start off, again, I'm going to be configuring the Wazuh agent to monitor system files in real time, which would detect any unauthorized modifications and directories that could indicate malicious insider threat. All right. So first I have to find the file. So that file is actually, I'm gonna have to open it up rather using the nano security excuse me, nano text editor. All right. So then this file is located in the following directory. Actually, one folder. There we go. Right, and then the name of that file is going to be ossec.config. All right, so let's go inside. Got to give it my password. There we go. All right, so the next thing I have to do, I actually need to scroll down a bit here to the file integrity monitoring section here of the configuration file in order to paste the rules in here that's going to enable the monitoring that I want Wazuh to do. All right, so it looks like I'm here under File Integrity Monitor, and I want to stick those rules under directories to check. So just create a bit of space here, and give me a moment. I'm going to paste that in because again, don't want to waste time here potentially fumbling syntax. All right, all right. Let me just add some indentation here, indentation rather. All right. So again, what these two rules are going to do is it's going to enable the real-time monitoring and Wazuh to for the directories and report any made changes. All right. So just checking my syntax one last time, everything should be good to go. So I'm gonna do Ctrl X to exit and then Y to save. All right, so the next thing that I have to do in order for these changes to apply and to persist, I'm gonna actually have to start the Wazuh agent, restart it, and then those changes should go into effect. All right, so in order to do so, I'm gonna say sudo system control, and then and of course I want to restart it, and then the name of that process should be Wazuh agent. All right, so just checking my syntax here, make sure everything is spelled right. All right, let's execute that. All right, so it looks like no errors returned, so that should have gone through. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to actually generate some traffic here for Wazuh to the track. So I'm going to simulate an insider threat. So I'm going to actually create a new user called James. Well, we can call him Daryl. All right. All right. And then let's see. I'm gonna give him this password. Okay. Yeah, I thought I screwed something up. All right, let's try that again. All right, so say Brooks. All right, then we're gonna say. All right, then I'm gonna just. Yep, that's correct. All right. Now that I've entered that in, let's see. Now I'm going to delete my history. All right, and all of this is just to generate some traffic here for Wazuh to for Wazuh. All right, so now let's open up Wazuh, and to do that, I have to navigate to where it's being hosted, to the IP address it's being hosted on. So that is going to be located at, let's see, HTTPS 192.168.1.100. All right. So let's see. Go to advanced here. Then I'm going to accept the risk. Let's wait for that to load up. All right. Then I'm going to give it my credentials. All right. Now that that's loaded up, I'm going to open up this side menu over here and scroll down to endpoint security, and then choose file integrity monitoring. All right. So we have our dashboard here. All right. So just to kind of briefly, briefly go over hold on, this should be, let me see, let me kind of check down through here. All right, so All right, so once in inside of here, so what would generally happen is I would conduct triaging, and triage it's a fundamental part of incident response, and it helps SOC teams to quickly contain potential threats. So once the alert is generated, the next step is to triage the event and to assess its severity and to determine the appropriate response. The goal of the triage is to determine whether or not the event reflects normal behavior or indicates suspicious or malicious activity, which then you would then upgrade it to an actual security incident and not just an isolated event. So first, I will review the alerts to gather any key information about them, such as user details, and then the time it occurred and specific file changes. And then next, I would need to classify those alerts by assessing the severity and the impact of the activity, determine whether it would either aligns with normal operations or represents a potential security incident. All right, so let me see if I can. I was trying to find something. Oh, you know what? I have to go to events. Okay, there we go. Okay, so if I expand this menu here, that's why I couldn't find anything. Um, all right, so I'm gonna scroll down a little bit here 'cause I want to show something. I want to show where in this log where it kind of gives us an idea of the MITRE attack technique. Let's see. Did I pass it? Okay, so you see here under rule dot miter dot technique, we can see where it says stored data manipulation. So basically, those rules that I set before are in effect, and it flagged the recent activity that I just conducted when I did this when I used Bash Shell and I set up the Darrow account, that it flagged it as stored data manipulation. Now we know that this is a false positive. There was, I wasn't doing anything malicious, but it's just an example of how those codes, when put into effect, um, um, how they would work, how they would flag things, and then it would be the SOC analysts' um, um, expertise or decision making to determine that, hey, is this a false positive or an actual security event that could possibly be a security incident. All right, so once doing that, again, so you would the analyst would have to make a decision based on the classification to determine if a further investigation is necessary. But immediate action should be taken if the event can be if the event can't be dismissed as a false positive. All right, so stored data manipulation, such as changing information in the database, should definitely require an immediate investigation. So that's what this is. So when it says stored data manipulation, that's what it's referring to. It's saying that there was some sort of stored data here, whether in a database, whether in a file directory, there was something changed here, which I suppose in this instance it was, because I did add a new user and then tried to delete the history of doing so. So I guess from that perspective, there was a data manipulation happening there, just not anything malicious, and that would be something that the analyst would have to investigate. All right, but that brings me to the end of this video. Try to make it as straightforward, as simple as possible. Again, Wazoo is it's alternative to it can be used as an alternative to another popular SIM solution such as Splunk, but this is just an example of how you will configure Wazoo to then be able to find any sort of file integrity issues going on within your system or network. So please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, show your work And remember to check out INE and its certification and training options. Check out the link below along with the promo code. And until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.